Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multi-millionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too, without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we have a returning guest, Carlos Redlich. Carlos is highly sought after direct response copywriter and marketing consultant. He's worked with all levels of entrepreneurs. In fact, you may want to check out milliondollarmasterminding.com, where he's working with some of the biggest names to make growing a successful business simple. I've asked him to come back here and join us today to share what's been so helpful for hundreds of others. So Carlos, how you doing, my man? Thank you for joining us. What's going on?
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on the call, dude. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's so funny. I've known Carlos for years, but we just had to do two takes because I messed up his name somehow. But it's all good. Man, it's great to have you back. Last time we were here, we were talking about copywriting, helping with sales. Today, I really want to dive in and find out kind of what's going on with all the other entrepreneurs that you've been working with and helping. I mean, so we live in a world where fundamentals are fundamental, but also it's a changing world where every day new things are coming out. Online millionaire entrepreneurs are being born every day. So can you give us a little bit of background about what's changed with you specifically since we spoke to you last time?
I forget exactly when we spoke, but one of the things that I've been really focusing on, there's a couple things really. The first thing is I'm working with current copywriters who are already freelancing maybe for 6 months or a year, a couple years, and I'm really showing them how to take their business to a six-figure per year income, right? So that's one of the big things I'm focusing on. I realize there's so many people who want to become copywriters, and there's so many courses out there showing you how to write copy, but very few of them showing you how to actually close deals and make money. So that's something I'm really passionate about. I'm working on that. And then the other big thing is I've partnered up with a few cool friends of mine. Some of them were clients and turned into friends, and now we turned into business partners. And we're doing a bunch of mansion masterminds where we're, kind of spilling the beans, spilling our guts on things like copywriting and traffic generation and really cool things that we've been testing that are working. So that's kind of the skinny on what I've been up to. Those are the two big things I've been focusing on. I'm really pumped up about it.
That's awesome. And that's really awesome. So, and what are some of the biggest obstacles people face in that? Because, all right, somebody wants to be a copywriter or they've got some other type of business. What tend to be the typical choke points that you've kind of seen people struggle with?
One of the biggest things that I've seen is copywriters specifically, but I'm sure we could branch this out into freelancing, but a lot of copywriters specifically, they're good at the skill of writing, but they may not be the best at closing deals on the phone or whatever that might be. And really it comes down to closing the deal on the phone from what I've seen, right? Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, we can write all this cool copy, but if we get somebody on the phone who we want to close as a client, if you're not doing it right, you're going to lose that deal. And it doesn't matter how great of a copywriter you are. If you can't close the deal, you're not going to get paid, right? You're not going to get a result for your client, right? The way I kind of have looked at it is a lot of copywriters, and again, freelancers in general, but a lot of copywriters have almost relied only on their skill, meaning I'm going to write copy for Daryl and I'm going to make him a ton of money. And if I make him a ton of money, then he's going to obviously want to keep hiring me. But that's not always the case. In fact, what ends up happening is you can do a great job for a client and maybe they test it, but if you're not in contact with them, if you're not following up, if you haven't put them on some kind of maybe retainer deal or something, well, they're just going to forget about you, use your copy, and chances are the next person who hits them up to write copy, they'll give them a shot at it too. So one of the big things that I've seen a lot of people, freelancers specifically, copywriters specifically, kind of drop the ball on is actually the selling process and the closing of the deals and upselling and stuff like that.
Right. So, and I think this is a common thread. I mean, typically people don't want to sell. People will do everything they can to avoid selling. And I think that it's also worth mentioning that it's, the money is made typically not in the delivery of the product or service. It's the money's made in getting the person to agree to pay for something,
100%. 100%. And it's funny because a lot of times a lot of this, when I say a lot of times, because this is what I used to do, right? So I would write copy for someone, charge them X amount of, let's say $5,000 or $10,000, and I'd make a quick $5,000 or $10,000, and that'd be it. But then when I started saying, well, it was literally almost as simple as just kind of pre-framing it by adding a sentence, right? So before somebody would pay me for that single project, whatever it might be, even if it was like a $60 project, I would always, and I still do now, I pre-frame that conversation. I say something along the lines of, okay, I really appreciate your business. I'm excited to get going on this. Let me ask you something. Assuming I crush it with this email sequence, landing page, whatever it is, would you be open to working with me on a monthly basis for $5,000 or $10,000 per month as a retainer deal? And they're going to say yes or no. The reason I like that is because you bring it up without any pressure, because they've already agreed to the original amount you're going to work with. And you basically just say, hey, assuming, this is a very big deal, you say, assuming I do well with this project, would you be open to, a retainer deal? And I like to list out my two options, $5,000 or $10,000 a month, whatever your retainer deal is, you list it out. But the reason I like that is because now when you hand in your work, you can say, hey, here's the work I promised you a few weeks ago. I wanted to go ahead and schedule a call. And again, assuming you like this, assuming it works, I kind of wanted to just schedule a tentative call to discuss a retainer deal if you're still open to that. And then they're going to, generally what ends up happening is say, okay, cool, let's schedule this for, this call within the next 2 weeks or so, or for the next 2 weeks. And that'll give me enough time to kind of get testing on whatever it is that you just wrote for them. So it's a really simple way to start getting long-term money, because now you set yourself up for a 6-figure per year deal if you've asked for 10 grand, for example. And it's very simple, and it's like a non-salesy way of just kind of being like, hey, assuming I do well, would you be open to this stuff? You know what I mean? Hello? I'm not sure if I lost you there. I can't hear you.
You know what? I have my headphone on mute. Sorry about that. So,
I can keep talking, but
man, I just dropped some wisdom right there. If you didn't catch that, everybody here has missed out. I'm sorry. That was just the bomb. No, all good. But I mean, it's kind of like, it makes sense. I mean, all right. So it's fundamentals. First, just get on the board. Just get involved. Get your foot in the door. Right. Do a project with them, and then kind of. It's almost like dating. Like, all right, let's go on a coffee date. And what is it that you're looking for? Something long-term? Like, if that's what you're looking for, great, right? I think that's, like you said, it's simple. There's only 3 ways to grow a business. Get more customers, get them to come back and buy more frequently, and get them to spend more money, right? So the first step is get more customers. Just get a customer. It doesn't matter what dollar point, just get a customer. As long as it's related to that, don't sell someone a pair of jeans and then say, do you want copywriting services? It's got to be related. So get a customer, and then after that, try to get them to come back more often. And then even if they're only on the 5K a month, then try to get them to spend more, get them upgraded to the 10K. So
and there's actually a way you can do it. I've done this, and I have kind of a little system on how I do it, and I'll share it with you if it's cool. It's so it's just like what you're saying. The first step is get your gig, whatever that might be. Maybe it's $1,000 for some emails, or $10,000 for whatever your one-time gig is. Get that first foot in the door. Then your next upsell, if we look at it that way, is you set up your monthly retainer. So let's say you're charging $10,000 a month, right? So that's your monthly retainer. Now let's say you've closed somebody on that $10,000 per month retainer. Your job isn't done there. What I like to do is wait 3 months, so they paid you about 30 grand, and then you make a special offer. You say something along the lines, and this is assuming you're doing well with them, but you say something along the lines of, hey, Daryl, it's really been awesome working with you, and I really appreciate all the stuff we've been doing together. And I wanted to know, are you happy with the services? Are you happy with the copy I've been producing? They're going to say, hopefully, yeah, I'm really happy. Okay, perfect. Well, right now, as you know, you're investing $10,000 a month, which is about 120 grand a year. And I kind of want to make you a really special offer. Is it okay if I share that with you? And they're going to say, yes, of course it's okay, you share it with me. Perfect. Well, what I'd love to do is do a $90,000 upfront deal that's 1 year of copy. And I slow down and I really enunciate this part, because if you say it too quickly, people think you're scared. But if you slow it down, you actually say the numbers, right? And you just say it's $90,000 for the year, and essentially it's doing the $10,000 per month package, but you're doing it up front and you're saving 10, 20, like $20,000 or $30,000 or whatever for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you'd be open to? And they're going to say again, yes or no. If they say no, then that's fine. You keep on doing your $10,000 per month retainer. But what if they say yes? You've just stacked $90,000
in 1 month. That's right.
In 1 month, $90,000 can buy you some copywriter help.
Yeah, yeah. For 90 grand, you can get some help writing some emails. That's really well said. That's really 100%. Well said. So
a lot of people don't do that, man. Your clients can, if you have a client that's making $100,000 a month, $400,000 a month because they're internet marketers and that's why they hire copywriters because they have that kind of flow usually. Well, if they're making $400,000 a month or even $100,000 a month, paying you $90,000 for an entire year of work is nothing. The only reason they wouldn't do it is because they don't trust you, they don't believe in your copy, or they think you're going to run away. Right. If you've worked with them for 3 months, they know who you are, they know if you can produce or not, and you've kind of already built it up to where it's a no-brainer decision, assuming you've been doing your work right.
Right. Hands down. I mean, that's just a fantastic way to do it because it gives you as the business owner, the other reason is the security. Because some people might hear that and go, well, but I lose out on 30 grand. But you have this guarantee that they've already paid for the year in full. So because what might happen is, like you said, they might be doing 400 grand, but if something happens and things turn it upside down, right, suddenly they might need to try to save some money somewhere, and they might look at, cutting you out of the deal just because of their own life situation, or a relative gets sick, and they have to pay more medical bill. Like, you don't know what's happened, but if you have that money, odds are they're just going to make the most out of it, and they're going to look to, they're not going to ask for a refund as long as you're doing your job.
Right, assuming you're doing your job, and for clients who pay me $10,000 a month, even if they didn't pay the $90,000 up front, what I do is I just go visit them. So during that 2 or 3 month period where they're paying me $10,000 a month, I've almost always made a point to just go visit them because it's going to cost. I mean, I live in the States, and most of my clients live in the States, so that's a little fortunate, right? But for me, it's like $300 to go visit them and solidify a relationship. It'd be silly not. You know what I mean? Especially if it's that cheap to go do it. I mean, then you've really built a relationship. The only reason they wouldn't give you $90,000 is because they don't have it.
So now some people are probably thinking like, all right, this sounds great, but how do you scale 10K a month clients? Like for 10K a month, they're going to want some deliverables. How do you scale that?
Yeah, so one of the ways that I do it is I call it unlimited Carlos for $10,000 a month. But unlimited Carlos is essentially we get together once. Well, the first thing is we get together at the beginning of the month and we set the goal for the month. Here's what we want to do for this month. We want to do X amount of funnels. This is, here's the dealio. And then each week I make it a point to get with the person who's in charge of that project or whatever. And I say, okay, here's what we're going to do week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So that's my month planned out. So it's not so much a surprise, like, whoops, I need a funnel to be built out in the next day or two. It's all planned out. And so that way it really kind of makes your job easier. There's no real surprises. Sure, maybe every once in a while you'll have to bust out an email or two on the spot, but that's not a big deal. And the way you scale it, honestly, since it's already done, there's a couple ways. One, you just partner up with the person and remove the $10,000 per month deal and just get if you're producing. That way, you're just kind of getting a percentage of the deal. The other way is what I've kind of started doing is I tell my clients, and I'm like, listen, for $10,000 a month, I'm going to do all this stuff. And if God forbid I can't complete all this on my own, I'm going to bring on a couple other junior copywriters to help me with the work, and I'll proof it and make sure it all gets done. And the truth is, you can find a copywriter anywhere in the world. I mean, most copywriters have great skill levels, but they suck at closing and they can't find deals. So if you say, hey, I know you charge $10,000 for a sales letter, but you haven't closed anybody in like 3 months, I'll offer you $3,000 for the sales letter. How about that? And a lot of times they'll say yes, and that's just an example for a sales letter, but whatever the price might be.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I don't want to stress it too much, but I do want to stress that when you get $90,000 up front, or even if it's like a $36,000, if you did a $5,000 thing and then made them a deal saying, okay, for $3,000 times 12 months, if you pay me up front, I'll charge you $36,000 or whatever it is, right? Once you have that big chunk of money come in, you can buy, I look at it like I'm buying a copy. You can buy a copywriter on your retainer for $1,500 a month. Yep. And they can do a lot of stuff for you, Yep.
So now you're getting into building the team.
Our deals.
That's right. And now, exactly. Now you're closing these 90K deals and you're just lining those up. I mean, a lot of this isn't rocket science because it's And I don't want to say that in a derogatory way, but we see it all the time. You drive by a subdivision, that's the same principle applied, right? Somebody gets a contract to build a house for like 80 grand, $90,000. They hire subcontractors, right? Subcontractors build the house. They keep what's left over in the middle. Pretty straightforward, right? You pass a hair salon, unless it's the owner working the chair, right? The owner has a spot. They set up a marketing system to get clients on a regular basis. They're generating a couple thousand a day. They get people to come in and agree to work the chairs for just, for whatever, like $100, and they keep the difference. I mean, this is basic business 101. So in copywriting, like you said, what sounds like, ironically, is what the copywriters are missing is the marketing and sales system in their business.
Yeah, that's exactly it. A lot of times, copywriters will understand the principles of copy and understand that that's salesmanship in print. But when it comes down to actually doing the salesmanship on the phone or whatever, they stumble and fall for some reason.
And that's really important because no one's going to buy 10 grand a month copywriting services from a sales letter.
Right. Well, you're right. Exactly. You can generate that lead through a sales letter. Like I've written a long form sales letter that I was telling people I had it wasn't $10,000 a month, but it was a $7,500 offer, and I sold it directly through a sales letter. But they didn't pay there. They knew the price. They knew everything. It was like 15 pages long, so it's a semi-long form sales letter. Yep. And then by the time they got on the phone with me, because it was essentially a sales letter to book an appointment, by the time they got on the phone with me, they were ready to go. I mean, they knew the price. They knew the deadline. They essentially just wanted to make sure I wasn't a con artist because they were giving me like almost 10 grand.
Right. And that's just, that's not, I do that too. So I totally get what you mean, but exactly, they got to get on the phone and close. So then what's the big hiccup? So they're afraid to get on the phone and close, and what, they can't keep a flow of interested potential clients coming through? Like, is that, just trying to think, like, what would be if doing the copy, if they're good at doing the copy, if they're not worried about delivering, is it that, like, they're just not getting out there?
Well, so it's a number of things. Sometimes it's a little lead generation problem, and that's not even an issue. There's so many people, like, let's say you don't have money for paid ads, like to do an offer like what you did or what I did or any of that stuff. You can do what I used to do a lot, and was just cold emailing qualified people. Now, who's qualified? In my opinion, as a copywriter, I was looking for people who already understood the value of copywriting and who already made millions of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. So who is that? Well, Russell Brunson has done a lot of work for us, and he's created a club of millionaires, right? So there's this thing called the 2 Comma Club. And if you go on Google and type in 2 Comma Club ClickFunnels, there's a list of hundreds of potential clients. All you've got to do is figure out, how do you get in front of them? Now, I'll leave the copywriters to figure out how you can do that. You can find their email, you can add them on Facebook, you can do tons of things. But the secret is getting in front of them without appearing like a total spammer. Because if you go and direct message, let's say whoever it is in the 2 Comma Club award thing, and you just find their Facebook and you direct message them and say, hey, I saw you're in the 2 Comma Club, want to pay me 5 or 10 grand to write your copy? That's not going to work. You're going to just kind of seem like a scammer. But if you just go ahead, and the first part of it is build the actual relationship. Part of having a great group of friends is making sure they can actually afford your services. I mean, those are my friends. My friends are my clients. I mean, why would I, So I build my friends list, right? So my friends list is, chock full of millionaires who are all in this 2 Comma Club award thing. And so those are my best potential clients, and I make them my friend. So if I were to add somebody on Facebook who is part of that list, for example, I wouldn't pitch them. I would just say, hey, and I would be honest. I'm not a fan of lying. I'm really good. I'm like really a big person on like just telling the truth. It usually works out well. And you could just tell these people, hey, I saw you on the 2 Comma Club website and just wanted to connect with other badass internet marketers or business owners or whatever. I hope that's okay. And that's it. Like, some people, I've actually never really had anyone say, no, that's not okay, because you just ask, is that okay? And most people will say, yes, that's totally fine. And what ends up happening is a couple things. The first thing is the conversation just dies, and that's it. You just add them as a friend, and hopefully later down the line you can convert them into a sale. Or B, what also ends up happening if you do this enough times is a conversation naturally comes up and you naturally get hired. And here's how it usually goes. Once you say something like, hey, I hope that's okay if I added you, not here to pitch you or anything, they're going to say something along the lines of, awesome, well, I appreciate the connection, man. That's totally cool. What kind of stuff do you do? Are you an internet marketer too? And then what do you say? Well, I'm a copywriter. I've been working with a few other people, and so I'm just doing some of that stuff or whatever, right? Well, now once you've said that, they can say a couple things. okay, cool, or wow, do you have any samples I could check out? I'm always looking for a copywriter, because they are the perfect client. They're making 7 figures or 8 figures, and they're in internet marketing, which means they already understand the value of copy. You don't have to explain it to them like you would for a local dentist or something.
Yeah, I love that. So, all right, so we're also hitting another fundamental principle here of going where the customers are. So getting out there, keeping a steady flow of leads. Do you have a goal? Like, are you trying to keep a steady flow of appointments for yourself every month to try to close? Is it just kind of whatever you can manage? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there a system behind this, or?
Yeah, so I have number goals in the sense of, like, per year copywriting, I want to make at least $500,000 in just copywriting. And so the only way I've found to do that is kind of the process I've done, which I was explaining, which is a lot of upselling, right? Because that means I only need 5 to 10 clients to make 500 grand a year if you're closing them on 30 to 90 grand deals after they paid you 10, 20, $30,000.
Right.
So it stacks up relatively quickly. So I don't necessarily look at it like I need to get on the phone with 10 people, and it's not a full sales job like that. It's how can I maximize this, base of maybe 150 people I've worked with over the last 4 years. How can I go back to them and get 500 grand out of that this year? And maybe I should make it $1 million, because I haven't done $1 million through just copywriting. So, but my number's always been, hey, let me just get it, because it's just easy, right? Now, I'm like, I just need 5 people and 90 grand, and they've already paid me 30 grand to qualify. So boom, I hit my number.
Yep. No, that makes sense. And this is a really key thing. I think it's important for. There's 2 things I want to point out. One, it's easier to get an existing customer to spend more money with you. 2,
100%.
It's right. 2, it's easier to get fewer sales at a higher price point than more sales at a lower price point, typically, just because.
So boom, I hit my number.
Yep. No, that makes sense. And this is a really key thing. I think it's important for. There's 2 things I want to point out. One, it's easier to get an existing customer to spend more money with you. 2,
100%.
It's right. 2, it's easier to get fewer sales at a higher price point than more sales at a lower price point, typically, just because of the reach you need to have. I remember I worked with a client, and there was pressure for us to try to hit a sales goal of, I think we needed like at least $150,000, and they wanted to do it selling like a $10 a month membership program. And I'm just like, do you know how much traffic, like, we're just gonna have to pump so much traffic to hit that goal. So instead I convinced them to help sell $7,500, a $15,000 with a downsell to $7,500. Because like now we only need just a handful of, right? Now we just need a handful of sales, as opposed to needing like 10,000 people to buy, right? At $10 a month, like, great, yeah, it would work great. But if 10,000 people are going to buy, and you only get like, what's a typical conversion rate on a sales letter?
Or for cold traffic, it's usually under 2%.
Right? So it's like we would need millions of targeted visitors to our site. Like, it's not realistic. So I love that. Now let's talk about closing the sale, because all right, it seems like, all right, people can figure out, network, kind of talk to people. Let's talk about closing the sale. How do we do this, Carlos? And this is hilarious because I'm having flashbacks to like 2004, our conversations with you in our martial arts schools. But sell me this pen, Carlos. How do we close the sale? What are we doing? How do we handle that? And yeah.
So I've actually got a little process I've been using, and it works really well for me. And so I'll share it with you. It's roughly 9 steps. Sometimes it's a little shorter than that, but roughly 9 steps. And usually the call is under 30 minutes. And so I should also list out that before someone gets on the phone with me, I've almost always pre-frame them with either what the price could be, or what it is, or the range. So I'm not getting on the phone with somebody who thinks it's going to be $5 when it's really going to be like $50,000, right?
Can you explain that process? Like, all right, so you pre-frame them. How do we do that? They're getting on the phone, because I think there's 2 important pieces here that we want to make sure that I want to make sure that you guys get. So he's not getting on the phone with just anybody. He's getting on the phone with people he's pretty sure would be qualified prospects. And then 2, like you said, they're pre-framed when they get on. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I'll actually have to talk about something else on top of that, just to talk about this. So one of the things that I've done, and I highly suggest everybody do it regardless of their industry or what business they're in, is I've developed a really strong network of referral partners. So a referral partner is anybody that's going to refer you a deal because they know they're going to get a cut of the money, right? So a lot of times what happens is there's tons of copywriters out there that aren't really doing well. They may have some skill, but they aren't closing. They aren't making any money. But what they can do is they can refer me deals, and they know for the most part I'll close a deal if it's closable, and I'll shoot them 20%. So I've got certain copywriters making $4,000-$6,000 a month just referring me deals, because I'll close somebody, let's say, on $10,000, and I'll cut $2,000 and send it straight to their PayPal account just for making a Facebook group chat intro. I make it super easy, and I overpay, in my opinion, because that way, if I can turn my referral partners into an army of almost referral employees where this is all they frickin' do, then my job's a little bit easier. And that's the reason I bring that up, is because now that's kind of how I get a lot of my leads. People will see someone in a Facebook group such as ClickFunnels, and somebody in that group will say, "Hey, I'm looking for a copywriter." And so I've got like an army, like hundreds of people literally, who will, if they see that, they'll say, "Oh, you got to get Carlos Redlich," and you'll have like 5 or 10 people recommending this guy Carlos Redlich. And then the first person, and all my referral partners know this, the first person who creates a Facebook chat introduction between me and the person looking for copy is the person who will get the 20% deal, right? So what ends up happening is I'll have, let's say, 5 people recommend me on the post. I'll have 5 group chat introductions with the same person. So who do you think that person is going to think is a badass?
Right,
Me.
of course.
Have 5 people not just recommend me, but 5 of them say, "Hey, I can make a group chat intro between you and this guy," or whatever. And so there's a lot of kind of edifying before they even get on the phone with me, which is kind of why I wanted to explain that. It's kind of a whole referral process that's really worked well with me.
Right, because referrals are the best quality. I mean, that's great traffic. There's a lot of, social proof is one of the most powerful motivating factors in marketing ever. If you walked outside and there was a mob of 100 people running in terror in one direction, you wouldn't go the opposite way. You would start running with them and be like, "Where are we going? Why is everyone terrified?" Right? Yeah, right? Like, that's exactly it. So when Carlos says he gets like 7 people in a thread being like, "Carlos," and they're private messaging the person like, "Let me talk," person's going to go with the flow. So I love it. Yeah, keep going.
So by the time, exactly. So let's say somebody introduces me to some other person, like it happened today. It happens virtually every day. So let's say someone introduces me to somebody else, right? Someone introduced me to you, Daryl. The first thing I'm going to say is, "Hey, I appreciate the this is going to sound like minutia, but I feel like I should point it out because it's something that's done well with separating me is, act professional." I know it sounds so silly, but in this internet marketing space, a lot of people act like children and they're very flaky. So if you just say stuff like, "Hey, I appreciate the opportunity to work with it. Hey, I appreciate the introduction." The fact that you said "I appreciate anything" automatically sets you apart from other freelancers and, in my industry, copywriters who generally try to, position themselves like they're like greater than God, and they usually lose the sale because of that. So anyway, basic stuff. So I'll just say, "Hey, I appreciate the introduction. Really nice to meet you, Daryl. Tell me, what kind of copy are you looking?" And this is all through like Facebook chat. "Tell me, what kind of copy are you looking for? Emails, sales letters, advertorials, something else? Also, what industry are you in?" Then I let them respond back. They'll say, "Hey, I'm in the diet industry, and I need a sales letter, and I'm thinking I need some emails, possibly some Facebook ads." Okay, perfect. Well, my flat rate for a package that looks kind of like that is around $10,000, and usually takes roughly 4 to 5 weeks to complete. Assuming that's something that would work within your time frame, do you want to schedule a call to see if it's actually a good fit? Now, what have I done? I pre-qualify them with a price, with a possible deadline, and if they say, "Well, yeah, I'd like to see," sometimes what ends up happening is they say, "Well, yeah, I've never heard of you, but you're really recommended, and I kind of want to see some samples and stuff like that." So you say, "Perfect, absolutely, I'll send you those samples, but I want to make sure it's a good fit first, and just make sure I send you the proper samples." And then you go into scheduling a call. So the reason why that's important is because that's a huge part of the sale before they even get on the phone, because now when they get on the phone, they know the price, they know the deadline, and literally the only reason they want to talk is because they're going to drop 10 grand and they need to know who they're talking to, right?
Right.
So there's the pre-frame. Now let's move on to the actual sale. So we get them on the phone, and the first thing I do is it's going back to the appreciation thing. So step 1 would kind of be the intro. So I would say, "Hey, Daryl, really appreciate you hopping on the phone. Is this still a good time to talk about your copy?" You're going to say, "Yes, it is," right? Then the next step is what I call spill your guts. So I make the other person spill their guts. So I say something like, awesome, man. Well, I know we spoke a little bit on Facebook about the industry and some of the copy you wanted to do, but if you don't mind, just spill your guts for me a little bit and tell me a little bit more about your business. Then they spill their guts for, let's say, 5 minutes. Step 3 is I recap what they just said. Now, the reason that's important is because it lets them understand that I'm listening to them and I'm paying attention to them, and I'm getting them to feel that I'm on the same page. So I say, all right, perfect. Well, let me just stop you there for 2 seconds. I want to recap what you just said so I make sure I'm on the same page. Is that okay with you? Then I get their confirmation. Yeah, absolutely. That's okay with me because they've never been treated this well ever. And so you say, perfect. Well, based on what you just said, it sounds like you want to do X, Y, and Z. Is that right? And they're going to say yes. So I've done my intro. I've had them spill their guts. I've recapped it. And now I make them spill their guts again. This is the second time. So I say, awesome, happy I'm on the same page. If you don't mind, tell me a little bit more about, X, whatever they, dive a little bit more into this particular section you spoke about earlier. Tell me what the real vision is here. Dive a little bit more into that if you don't mind. Then they're going to spill their guts again for, let's say, another 5 minutes. And then what do? Well, we want to make sure that we're on the same page. So we recap. Same process, very simple. So the whole time they're on the phone, I'm almost like an interviewer asking them questions. They're spilling their guts, and I'm confirming every single time what they say, right? So this person who's on the phone is like, wow, this guy is listening to me, or this lady is listening to me. They know exactly what I want, right? Now here's the transition. Once you've essentially said your second recap, right? They've spilled their guts and you've recapped, and you're like, okay, so are we on the same page? Is that kind of like what you wanted to do? And they say, yep, absolutely. You transition to essentially your proposal, right? Your pitch. So I say something along the lines of, okay, cool. So based on what you just said, I've kind of got a really good idea of what we need to do. Do you mind if I share it with you? And I get them to confirm, yes, share it with me, please. And then it's very simple. I just tell them what they just told me, and I tell them what they told me in the Facebook chat. Okay, so based on what you just said, we need to do a sales page. I'm thinking about 10 emails and maybe 5 to 7 Facebook ads. Is that right? Yep, that's right. Perfect. And just like what I was talking about on Facebook, that'll be $10,000, 50% to start, 50% afterwards. And then it generally takes less than 5 weeks, but I put a 5-week deadline on that. Is that something that would work with you? And I get their minor commitment. Yep, that would work with me, or whatever it would be. Perfect. And what's the best email to go ahead and send the PayPal invoice to for the first half? And then I shut up. Because now, if they give me their PayPal email, I've closed them, right?
So let's break that down. Hold on. So that's step 7. So the proposal is cool. So based on what you just said, I've got a good idea what we need to do. Here's the plan. Boom, you give them the plan. Now you ask for the order.
Yep, I've asked for the order, and then they've given me, so once they give me their email address, I've quote unquote kind of closed them, right? They're ready to get the deal. So then I say, perfect, and then I have kind of like a little guarantee. So I give my version of a guarantee. So I say, perfect, and I kind of want to run by you what happens if, God forbid, this doesn't work. Is it okay if I share that with you? Oh, yeah, please share it with me.
Right.
Great. So if, God forbid, this doesn't work, I always try to convert on the first try, but, life is life, and sometimes it doesn't happen. But let's say I don't convert. What I do is I stick with you for up to 3 more revisions to make sure it does convert and we do make you money. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes total sense. Okay, perfect. So what I'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and send that PayPal invoice for the first 50%. Do you think you'll be able to take care of that today so we can get rolling? And they're going to say yes or no, right? If they say, yep, I'll be able to take care of it, perfect. Now, just so I actually stole this from Grant Cardone. It's called the lock and close. So I say around this point, all right, awesome. And just so you're fully clear and everything, is there any reason you wouldn't want to take care of this? Any last minute objections or questions I can answer for you while we're on the phone? And then they're going to say, nope, I'm ready to go. Perfect. And then I don't stop there. I get I pre-frame them for a testimonial and now for my long-term stuff because we talked about retainers. So I say, awesome, man. And really quick, before I let you go, assuming I do really well with this, would you mind giving me a little testimonial that I can use in my own advertising? Oh, yeah, of course. That'd be great. Awesome, dude. And also, my big goal is I'm really trying to develop a long-term relationship with my clients. So again, assuming I do well with this and we obviously make you tons of money, would you be open to working with me on a monthly retainer basis afterwards for either $5,000 or $10,000 per month? And then you shut up. and then they're going to say yes or no. It doesn't matter if they say no, because then you're like, okay, well, hey, no worries. I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to put that out there now. I'll send you the PayPal invoice for this first project and we'll kick some ass. Usually what ends up happening though is they say, yeah, I mean, if you do well, man, I don't see why I wouldn't want to hire you long term. I always want a copywriter. It's hard to find a good one. Perfect, man. Well, I really appreciate your business. I'm going to go send this PayPal invoice to you now, and we'll kick some butt. Talk soon. Boom. Right? And that's literally the close. It's like a 20, 30-minute deal.
Yep. And I think a ton of it is they're already warmed up because it's referral. And then especially the price stuff. What do you do if people, when you say like, oh, my typical package is 10 grand, and they're like, and hun and all that, you just bail on them, right?
So I usually don't get that on the phone. That would happen.
I mean, in the mess, yeah. No, that's what I mean on Facebook. So you just you filter them out. You're not like, oh, well, I'll put together a $2,500 package. You just refer them to somebody else.
Yeah, so exactly. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, perfect. Well, what would you ideally love to pay? I know tons of copywriters. I might be able to refer you to someone, but I don't want to refer you to someone if you can only afford $100 and I send you someone who's charging $5,000. So what's the max you're willing to invest? And then I'll go find someone for you. And then I know tons of copywriters, and I kind of play agent, right, or middleman. Mm-hmm. I say, okay, great. Your budget is $5 grand. I'm gonna refer you to this person and get a 20% cut of the deal.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That works well. Yeah, anybody listen to this. This is a fantastic call. You're probably going to want to listen to this again and again and just write down and take the notes, because this is it. And I mean, he secured long-term deal. It's taking a one-time contract, one event. Let's do this thing. If this works, let's turn it into an ongoing thing. And after 3 months, let's turn this into $90K in my pocket.
Yep, 100%. 100%. If you can, go visit them before you pitch the $90K.
Right. Yeah. That's
shake hands and kiss babies. That shit's real. Go do that for real. If it's a $90,000 client.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. 100%. So I think that's fantastic. So we got that. We closed the deal. Do you have any sort of special onboarding process that you do in the beginning, like to try? Like this is really thorough in that, and I think that a lot of it is the groundwork, the kind of chicken scratching to find the leads, the quality leads. And like you said, as long as they're qualified, they've been referred to you, you've already mentioned the price, you get on the phone. This 9 steps or 10 steps that we just went through are just fantastic. I mean, if you do it and practice it, anyone that's listening to this, if you haven't done it, don't practice on the real lead, practice on somebody else. Get them just be like, just practice, bleed and cry in training, not on the battlefield. I can't stress that enough.
So true.
I think that's super important. I'm trying to figure out, like, it almost sounds too easy, Carlos. That's what I'm saying.
Well, one of the things that people can do is, I know there might be a hiccup on like, okay, well, what if I don't have a bunch of people referring me business? Well, there's the Sledgehammer Approach, which is what I'm more known for. So I developed a referral strategy because it's just smarter, right? It takes less work. But before I was doing that, I was cold emailing different businesses, right? So I found a list of 90 financial publishers. So people like the Agora companies, and they have like 30 different companies under them. And these guys, Adam Mesh and Angel Public, tons of these companies, right? And now the reason I bring that up is because financial publishing companies, the ones that are doing well, are usually doing really well, like $100 million a year type of deal, right? So there's a lot of money in that, and they also already see the value in copywriting. They already have people who they hire for $10,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 to write their copy. And so one of the things that I did before I knew anybody in the financial world, or even before I wrote any financial copy, because some people are like, well, I don't know the financial copy world, I don't have a sample to show. So my approach, again, is just be honest. You don't have to lie to people. Like, you can just be honest, Mm-hmm. So what I would do is I sent all of these people, these 90 financial publishers, a message. And the way I found their email was just through going on Google and typing in the company's name and finding a customer service email, or going through their customer service section on their website, and this still worked. So I would send a message that the subject line was something like your copy ... right? And then the line was in the message. Well, I've done this a couple times, but one of the times I did it when I first started was something like, "Hey, my name is Carlos Redlich. I just saw that you, I know you guys are a financial publishing company, and I've been writing copy in other industries, but I haven't broken into the financial world yet, and I'd really love to. And I was just wondering, are you interested in hiring other copywriters or outside copywriters or testing other copywriters?" And it was like a one sentence email, and that was generating responses and them actually replying back saying, yeah, we are, what kind of stuff. And so since I wasn't lying and saying, yeah, I've done all this stuff in financial and I hadn't done anything, they never asked for financial copy. They just said, well, send us some of the stuff you've done, and if it's a fit, we'll give you a small project to start on. And that's one of the ways I kind of got my foot in the door with financial copywriting, was I just cold emailed everybody, told them I was new, and asked for the opportunity. And they said yes.
I love this. I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. So you just looked up people, said, hey, I'm hungry. I'm looking for work. Give me something as a sample. And then that was it.
Dude, it was it. So many copywriters are scared of this whole position. Like, everybody's scared of, like, ruining their positioning as a copywriter. And I've noticed this trend where people charge, like, 20 grand for a sales letter, yet they close one person every 3 months. So, like, really, you're kind of broke. So the way I look at it is, like, again, it's a sledgehammer approach. You just, like, how can you get, 100 grand in your bank account in 90 days? Like, what can you do? If you had to, like, going back to the Gary Halbert thing or John Carlton thing or, gun to your head marketing, dude, what would you have to do if you had to get 100 grand in your bank account and you're a freelancer charging $5,000 a sales letter? Or would you sell a year up front? That's where my thinking of, like, let me sell a year up front,
Yeah, no, I love it. And what I love about this too, especially the cold email, I like the sledgehammer method. That's something that you can build a team around yourself to support yourself with. Like the whole cold email thing, Carlos gave a really simple template. This system, there's not going to be 12 things that people reply with. There's typically going to be like 1 to 3, maybe 5 different types of responses to that. And it would be really easy after mailing a few, 10, 20, 40, 50, 100, couple people to be able to have just canned and clone answers and hire like a VA to basically just copy paste your emails out for you, to book, to fill a calendar, like just to schedule appointments for you, almost like how I did for this podcast. Here's the link, book an appointment, and they're just emailing people, and all of a sudden your calendar's filling up, getting on the phone for people to close these sample project deals. And that'd be a great way to create a sustainable, predictable, reliable means of ongoing new contracts for the business. Because again, that's such a huge choke point for new people, is fresh blood into the business. Right. Yeah.
Something I kind of want to throw out there, it was like a paradigm shift for me, is when I stopped looking at stuff on a monthly level and just kind of, how much do I want to make this year and how quickly can I do that shit? Right? Because then you can surpass that or do it even faster. So sometimes we get into this thing, and I know I did. I was like, I want to make 10 grand a month or 20 grand a month or whatever it is. But the goal isn't really 10 grand a month. It was 120 grand a year. That's what I wanted. So wouldn't it be better if I just made 120 grand or something in like a couple months? Like that'd be even better.
Yeah.
So
why wait a whole year? Or
it's because a lot of it is we just get on our own way. I had these big issues about charging 50 grand or 90 grand for a year worth of work because I just didn't think people would pay it. But then I put into perspective, I'm like, well, my clients are a lot richer than me. Like 90 grand is a lot of money for anybody, but when you put it into perspective and the person's making, 100 grand a month or something like that, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? It's just money, man. It ain't a big deal. It's just green pieces of paper or wherever you're from, maybe different colors, but it's just a piece of paper. Just try to get that shit as quickly as possible instead of spreading it out over a year, because that's what we were trained to do as employees. Like, we don't need a salary. We just need a big chunk of fucking cash in our bank account.
Yeah. There's a lot of security that comes with the bank account. I will testify to knowing that you could take an entire year or more and just disappear into the woods if you wanted. It changes the way you approach any sort of opportunity that comes your way. You start being, you really do start to approach things from an abundance mindset, which I think there's such an emphasis on why people should have that to begin with, because you just make smarter decisions. I mean, the best position, they say, like the best, whenever you're negotiating, you always want to have walking away be on the table, right? Like, don't ever accept a bad deal, right? A deal that you're going to feel bad taking. It's just going to be bad for everybody involved.
You can say no when you've got money in the bank account. It's hard to say no when you're on your last $1,000 or $500 and you got rent coming up and that's $2,000. And you're like, shit, I got it. I mean, fuck, if it's a bad deal, it's a bad deal. I still got to take it. So when you're able to stack up a lot of money real quickly, it'll put you in a position to make better deals. Anytime, most people, at least in the United States, have less than $10,000 in their bank account. And like, that's just sad, because if you have less than $10,000 in your bank account, like, and let's say, God forbid, you get in a car accident, like you can barely cover your fucking expenses for medical insurance or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's just a tough situation.
Yep.
So when I think of that type, it's like that's real life, you know. So how can we protect ourselves? The only way I know how to protect myself is to stack that bank account as high as I fucking can, so I can put myself in a position of power rather than just being at somebody else's mercy saying, hey, I need to pay my fucking rent, so I'll take damn near anything at a discount. That's a horrible position to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So you can avoid that if you just close people on high ticket shit and set yourself up better.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the flip side of this. You get someone in, you're delivering. How do you deal? Because it almost sounds like you're building a bit of an agency, like you say, like you're playing middleman. You know, you've got junior copywriters that work under you. You vet their copy and you send it out. And doing this, is there any tips or advice you would recommend to someone who's starting out and struggling? Like, all right, Carlos, you got them on the phone. They've got some people. They cold emailed, or they got some referrals, and they've gotten on the phone. And they've got some people that agree to stuff, and now they're where they need to start working with a team. And as you know, a lot of entrepreneurs can tend to be A-type personalities and tend to not necessarily always be good team players. Hence why they're entrepreneurs. So, any tips on how to manage that in a way so you don't, embarrass yourself in front of a client?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I wouldn't be able to answer it as if I was an agency owner because I don't really do that. What I end up doing is I'll either outsource the work completely. So when I was closing my $10,000 per month deals and I was really actively doing the copyright, now I've more shifted into training, doing my other online stuff so I don't do the copy. But when I was doing that more actively, I didn't really want to do the managing deal because just like you said, I mean, that's not really at least my strength. Mine was in the closing of the deal and maybe writing the copy. But what I figured out is I can just do the referral thing. So let me give you an example. So I've had people who wanted to hire me to write a sales letter, and it just wasn't going to be a good time for me because I just didn't have the time to do it, and I was still writing the copy. So what I said is, well, I'll close the deal, and I'll just kind of refer. So I gave the deal to one of my buddies, and I said, hey, I introduced them so they know each other, except I'm the one who closed the deal, right? Because I know I can close, so I kind of did that, and then I passed that client to my buddy, and that's his client now. He got the majority of the money, even though I closed. I just trust my skill in closing, so I closed the deal, and I almost did it like a pure referral. So at that point, they're not my client anymore; they're his client, if that makes sense. I wouldn't be able to say, I've got a team of 50 copywriters that are working for me that,
So you keep your workload full, and then after that you still close deals, but you close deals for other people, and then instead of getting the 10K, you get 2K and you give them the AK client.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly right. It turns out to be a little bit easier for me because these people already want to buy from me and they're trusting my word that this other person is going to do well. Well, I just rather close the deal, even if I'm only getting 20% of it.
Yeah.
It's just easier for me. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes the other person closes the deal.
No, but I mean, if you can hop on the phone in 30 minutes, make $2,000, that's still 30 minutes well spent.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to fulfill. Somebody else fulfills, and it's not your name; it's somebody else's name to a degree, right? You still refer them, so it is your.
Well, that goes back to what Gary Halbert once said, that all money's made not from delivering products or services, but from closing deals, right? Getting people to agree to buy products and services. That's where the money is. And then all big money comes from remote controlled selling, he used to call it, which was having some sort of vehicle, which for us in this age would be a webinar, a video sales letter, something that's something that's canned and cloned salesmanship that you put out there that turns interested people into hot, ready buyers. And then if you need to hop on the phone 30 minutes, hop on phone 30 minutes. If they can purchase it online, they purchase it online. And that's where all the big money is made, because now you have something that can scale. And even at this, it sounds like this could still scale. I mean, copywriting is a great lifestyle business. One of the beautiful things about copywriting is the more you do it, the bigger your swipe file gets. So suddenly delivering on what clients need can be easier because you've just, you become better organized. And I'm sure there's tips and tricks to that. I don't think we have time to get into that, but there are tips and tricks and ways to keep your stuff organized. So that way you can just turn around things at lightning speed, and it's all custom for the client. Because, a lot of it sometimes at some point becomes 80% copy and paste, 20% custom for that business. Because it's just like you get it. It's really formulaic in a lot of ways. It's not a sales letter that there's really formulaic in a lot of ways. There's a process you have to take people through, And so it just sounds like it's brilliant. It just sounds like people just have to get out there, do some chicken scratching. I love the cold email blasting option. I think that's a fantastic. It's just because it's always there. There's a lot of I almost want to say shame right now around marketing and sales. People are ashamed of it and they're afraid, but it's not. You have to remember you're helping people. So all this call we've talked about in our self-interest. We're going to make 10 grand a month. We're going to close 90K deals. But you have to remember there's a business owner at the other end that needs this stuff done, and they need to communicate with their customers. They need it done, and it's a value to them, and that's why they're willing to pay for it. And so, there's a lot of people that their businesses aren't doing as well as they could because they don't have this stuff taken care of, right? It's like anything. You can only juggle so many balls at once. If you're hitting your income goals required to have 9 balls juggled in the air, and you can only juggle 3, barely at that, you need another juggler.
Yeah,
and
or
it's
a porn star.
Yeah, right. Touche. This is so out there. I got some random message the other day. Some guy hit me up on Facebook because I'm in the Philippines right now. Asked if I wanted to be in a porn. This is so inappropriate, but
that's so funny.
Whatever. He hit me up and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for handsome Caucasians. I'm doing custom porn for my clients." He's looking for someone that wants to be tied up and abused by 2 ladyboys. I'm just like, this is not. It's just man, there's people who if this guy's so bold to message me that openly with that on Facebook, you can at least say, "Hey, you looking for copy services?" Right? Damn, man.
Hey, man, he's using the Sledgehammer Approach.
He's using the not only in the follow-up. Anyways, it's just so funny. I told my buddies about it. They're like, "How much does it pay?" I'm like, "Shut up, man. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. It's not my style at all." But anyways, we had a good laugh over it. But it works. There's a lot of shame and embarrassment around sales and around marketing. And you just have to recognize that there is a world of opportunity out there. I mean, there are billions of people on this planet. And so it is a bit of a numbers game. And I think that what Carlos has really shared today is really simple. It's really flat. It's really easy. There's key spots, like I mentioned, about having a VA help with the cold emails being sent. You just do it a few times and it's be easy to delegate. Now you're just having a calendar booked with people that know you want to get on the phone. You've already told them what the price is. You've got the 9 steps. You just need to get on and go through the 9 steps, and they're going to say yes or no, and it's going to turn into a few thousand for you, potential more. I think it's really just about trying to help people and get out there and not be ashamed of that. Sales isn't a bad thing. You're literally just spending your day looking for people to help. And also look at it this way. It's not really different than job hunting. So my girlfriend and I, we have a friend who's looking for work right now, and we were kind of laughing because we're like, you and us are in the same business. We're job hunting every day. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That just never ends. It never ends when you're a business owner. You're constantly looking for the next job. But most people in their employee mindset, they get a job and then they're done. And that's it. And then they just hold on. And then one day the company closes up and then they're, "Oh, woe is me." Why? You just keep going. So.
100%, dude. 100%. I mean, I'm really motivated by money. I know sometimes that's not politically correct and shit, but I'm motivated by seeing a bunch of money hit my account. I love that. I'm happier with money than I am without money. So,
yes.
So just fucking go make money. I don't it's just, I don't know. I don't have this grand scheme of saving the world. That's a back burner idea where yes, I want to do tons of stuff in Bolivia with my mom's family and do all this, but that doesn't motivate me to wake up and fucking do shit, what motivates me is first off, it's the fear of being poor again. I don't want to be fucking broke and struggling. So there's that, and then every time I get a little fucking cha-ching sent to my bank account, it's like a high. It's you can't get over that high. I love it. It's addicting.
It is it's so amazing the first time you get someone to pay you money. I remember the first time when I had my jiu-jitsu school, the same business you and I met, and years ago now, my first student that paid me money, I was like, "Really? You're going to pay me for this?" It was just, I didn't say it out loud, but I was like, "Really? This worked? They gave me money?" And it was just an invigorating feeling that people could pay you money. Anyways, it's just, there's nothing wrong with the love of money. Look, I've been rich and I've been poor, and I can tell you that life is still life. Money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy things that make you happy. And, out of this So out of the two sides of the equation, I'd rather be rich.
Yep.
It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you a more important, more valuable person. Because at the end of the day, you can't take it with you.
It makes me a better person because I give money away for free now. I give like $200 a week for free just because I just choose people on my phone at random on my Venmo or Cash App, and I just mass select like 10 to 15 to 20 or whatever amount of people.
Carlos,
and
you can't say that, man. I've been in your phone for like 15 years. Where's my $200?
Hey, man, I don't have your Cash App, bro. Give me your Cash App. I got you for $5. I usually send it out like a Wake Up Tuesday or Wake Up Wednesday or something, and I'll just choose a few people. It's a random thing. Like it's fun. So I don't know, man. Money makes me a little bit of a better person, I think, because I wasn't able to do that shit before. Before I could barely help myself, so I couldn't even help anyone else. I was more selfish. I was like, fuck, this is all me. Now I'm still a little selfish, but I do something with that selfishness after I get my money.
Well, and that's the thing is the money gives you opportunity. It's like fuel for a jet, right? That's really what it comes down to. You can do more for yourself. You can do more for other people. I remember this quote. You're probably gonna remember too. Money solves all problems. A lack of money creates. Right?
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's true. It's so true. Like if you're struggling, say you've got like a hobby, it's golf, it's jujitsu, it's CrossFit, it's whatever, it's bowling, and you're like, oh, I wish I was better than my friends. Well, if you had more money, could you hire a coach and get better faster? You could. Okay. So the problem is you don't make enough money. People complain about how expensive things are, but the problem often isn't the price of them. It's your ability to afford them, not the price. The price is the price, right? It's like if there's a coconut tree and you're like, I love some coconuts, but the coconuts are way up there. The problem is not the coconuts are way up there. The problem is you don't know how to get up there. And that's really what it comes to. That's really what it comes down to. And so it's where you have to get out of the victim mindset and take ownership for it. And Carlos, this was a fantastic call. Some really fabulous, simple steps. If you've got a referral network, boom, get on it. If you don't, just start doing the cold email thing. It's really straightforward, really simple. It is going to be a numbers game, but once you get them on the phone, Carlos also gave us the 9 steps to go through, have the conversation, close them, try to get it down to 30 minutes, and then upsell them, turn them. The goal. Drayton Bird, another famous copywriter of the UK, has had the #1 best-selling book, marketing in the UK for like 30 years. Not #1, but he's had a best-selling book there. Sorry. And he says, one of the best lines out of all the stuff he's written is the purpose of business is to find a prospect, turn that prospect into a customer, and then make that customer your friend. And I think that's really kind of just what Carlos articulated here, right? Find prospects, turn them into a customer. Customer is a one-time purchaser, and then make that person your friend. And that's the only way you're going to get ahead. You really have to be invested in your client success. So, Carlos, this has been amazing, really content-rich call. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you on the topic?
Maybe when we can hop back on again and do it again.
Yeah. Well, man, I've known you for I don't even know how many years now. Probably getting close to 10. Yeah, I mean, you always come and bring tons of value, so we'll definitely line this up again. For those that are interested in getting in touch with Carlos, you can also find him on Facebook, Carlos. Hold on here, I don't want to spell out Redlich. Did I get that right?
That's right, Carlos Redlich. Add me on my personal profile and send me a little private message letting me know you heard this. Would be awesome.
Yeah. Just reach out. Carlos is a great guy. Where are you based out of? If there's like 7 Carloses and they're like, which one is him?
I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and I'm living in Phoenix, Arizona now.
There you go. So take a look at the profile, make sure that it's the right one. Even just by following him, his posts are always entertaining. And definitely go check out the mastermind meetings he's involved in as well. There's just so much to be learned. You got to get out of your own space. Appreciate you as a listener. Carlos, I appreciate you as a friend. I appreciate having grown with you over all these years, back from when we were just struggling to pay rent, to now really just designing the lives that we want to live, what kind of people we want to be. It's a fantastic place to be in. So thank you, man, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Same here, man. I appreciate you having me.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much